Everyday items with unusual functions you didn't know about. Every little feature of a tool had a precise purpose when people first started building tools to make life simpler. Nothing they did was by chance or just for show. Even what was supposed to be art had a certain purpose, which had to do with religious beliefs or commonplace activities. Nothing was abstract, and everything was quite deliberate. When you consider how few raw materials were utilized, and how everything you used in your art had to be painstakingly farmed or gathered by hand, this makes sense. When a project entails a lot of hard effort, the designs tend to be more practical. Although most of us aren't aware of it, many of our ordinary things still contain lead. From soda cans and can openers to seams and tape measuring machines, there are several small aspects in the design that appear to be entirely beautiful but yet have a very practical purpose. Their goal may appear to be self-evident at times, but in truth, the product's intended purpose is something you never considered. Here are 40+ everyday items that you probably don't know what they're for. 1. The fifth pocket on your jeans. You may have noticed that many denim jeans feature a fifth pocket, which is a small extra pocket on the side. While millions of people have discovered dozens of uses for it, ranging from storing folded banknotes to putting away a stick of lip balm, this small pocket was actually intended with one item in mind: the pocket watch. In the mid-1800s, gold miners in California wore jeans, and one of the most significant objects they carried was their pocket watch, which was usually delicate and expensive. The fifth pocket was created to keep their valuable pocket watches safe and secure by tucking them in tightly. 2. Denim jeans with metal rivets. Yes, all of those little metal rivets in your jeans serve a purpose, believe it or not. They are purposefully fastened in locations where jeans used to fall apart, not only to create a fashion statement. While denim jeans are now more popular because of the way they make our butts look, they were first popular among the working class, such as farmers, miners, ranchers, laborers, and others. They used rivets where they were most likely to rip to give their work garments some more life and keep them from ripping apart at the seams. 3. Your pen cap has a hole in it. If you're anything like the rest of the world, you remember as a kid wondering what the tiny hole in your pen cap was for. Even as adults, we find ourselves distantly wondering what the little opening in the cap is doing there. While many have simplified it to some bizarre method of keeping the ink flowing, there is a lot more nuanced explanation. The makers of the pens that are so common in our lives realize that little children will almost certainly find up with these choking dangers in their mouths at some point. They made a hole in the cap to keep them from suffocating, so that even if one got lodged in a child's throat, they could still breathe air into their lungs. 4. A tape measuring machine's tools. The ultra-convenient tape measure found in hardware stores today are familiar to almost everyone. They appear to be rather self-evident. A long, flexible band of measuring tape with a metal end that you can hold in place pulls out from a roll. Most people are startled to find, however, that the metal tab serves two other important functions. The broad hole in the metal piece is meant to loop over a nail head, allowing you to keep the measurer in place while making your markings. A serrated edge on one side of the same metal tab can be used to gently press and mark a board where you want the end of your measurement to be. 5. Some coins' edges have a rich pattern. Have you ever wondered why dimes and quarters have rough edges whereas nickels and pennies have smooth edges? You're right to be curious, since there's a valid reason for it. Coins were stamped from various types of metal cast in various weights that represented the coin's genuine value back in the day. 1 ounce of silver, for example, was used to make one silver dollar. People began cutting the edges off coins to save them for later melting into new ones, and they would spend the shaped coins at face value, even though they were no longer worth much. To circumvent this, coin minters began utilizing the stiff design only on precious metal coins, allowing people to clearly determine whether a coin had been shaved. 6. Soda pop tab with a hole. You might think you know everything there is to know about the function of a Coke can, but you'll be astonished to learn about this one. Every can of soda has a tab that makes it easy to open the wonderful beverage. While they come in a variety of colors and have various decorations on their corners, they always have a rather wide hole in the top. Although this hole appears to make it easier to get your finger stuck beneath the tab to pop the top on your beverage, it is actually designed to hold your straw in place. To use, simply rotate the tab over the aperture and insert your straw. 7. Clothes coming with small fabric squares. When you buy a new shirt, pants, or even underwear, it generally comes with a tiny Ziploc bag containing a button and about 1 inch of matching fabric. a button in case one falls off while you're not looking, and fabric in case you need to patch a minor hole in your clothes. This is a wonderful application for the fabric swatch, however it's simply a secondary one. The true purpose of the cloth is for you to test your cleaning goods on it to ensure that they won't damage it. We know what you're thinking, your mind is blown. 8. The loops in a grocery cart's frame. Of all the items we use on a daily basis, the supermarket cart should be the most self-explanatory, or so one would assume. The purpose of ordinary objects can sometimes be lost in the main function of the item, which in this case is to carry your groceries about as you shop. The makers of these relatively simple carts, on the other hand, are more forward-thinking than we've given them credit for. While our checkers and baggers may not realize it, the metal hooks that border the top fold-out area of our shopping carts have a purpose: to hang your bags with light things like bread and eggs from so they don't get squashed among your heavier items. 9. The half belt on your coats and jackets. Surprisingly, many elements and aspects of today's most popular clothing products are portrayed as solely serving as a fashion statement. While this is true for some forms of clothes, such as that $97 pair of pre-torn jeans, there are still numerous clothing characteristics that are sometimes misunderstood as just attractive when they truly serve a purpose. One of them is the half belt. Originally designed for troops in the military who wore enormous jackets that served as blankets, they are now commonly found on trench and pea coats. The half belt's sole purpose is to gather excess material and keep it in place so the troops may move freely. 10. Your gas pump's indicator light has an arrow on it. Have you ever experienced an awkward moment at a gas station when you realized you parked your car on the wrong side of your gas tank? It's happened to all of us at some point. So you'll be relieved to learn that most drivers share your chagrin at discovering that our cars have been indicating which side of the tank is on for decades. You could notice an arrow next to the pump if you pay more attention to the gas indicator light in your car. You can see which side your gasoline tank is on by looking at the arrow. Other lights just utilize the pump handle to show which side of the light is on. 11. The side holes in Converse shoes. Over the last decade, Converse sneakers have experienced a massive resurgence in popularity. The shoes, which were originally developed for basketball players in the early 20th century, included 2 additional holes on the side towards the bottom that were identical to the shoelace holes. Many individuals have thought that these additional holes are for ventilation or are just a fashion statement over the years. These 2 side holes are for tying your shoes, which is precisely what they appear to be. The design was created to fit every basketball player's foot, with 2 holes on the side allowing them to customize the fit of their shoes while also preventing laces from unraveling. 12. Pill bottle caps that are childproof. If you've ever been annoyed trying to open one of those childproof pill bottles, you'll be relieved to learn that the solution is there in front of you. The majority of these pill containers feature unusual threaded covers on both sides. One of these sides has normal threads and may be screwed on top of the pill container without locking it. This is so that if you don't have any little children and are having difficulties unscrewing the childproof cap, you may use the opposite side of the cap to access your medicine when you need it. 13. Margins in a notebook. Remember how horrifying it was to discover that college-ruled notebook paper had thinner margins, allowing for more writing space? Those margins, believe it or not, were not created as a guide for how many sentences might fit on a single page, or even to give room for note-taking. To safeguard your work, manufacturers began to add margins to writing paper. Rats used to be a regular inhabitant in many people's houses, and one of their favorite treats, in addition to everything else, was your paper. 14. Fast food restaurants' paper condiment cups. Have you ever wondered why fast food businesses provide ketchup and mustard in such little cups? It all boils down to what those folds are for. When the paper cups are unfolded, they become miniature paper platters that can accommodate a lot more sauce for all your dipping requirements. 15. Containers for Chinese takeout. There's a reason if you've ever gone into a restaurant to get Chinese cuisine takeaway and asked for paper plates only to be met with a look that indicated the person thought you were strange. The Chinese food takeout boxes, like the paper condiment cups at fast food restaurants, are folded in such a way that when unfolded, they create excellent sized cardboard dinner plates. What's the best part? You may start eating straight away because your meal is already on the dish. They're basically staring at you as if you're insane since the plates are built in. 16. Beanie pom-poms are a fun way to dress up your beanies. It's that time of year when everyone puts on their winter coats and boots. Your winter cap or beanie is somewhere among the snowsuits, puffy coats, winter boots, and mountains of mismatched gloves. Like most people today, You may believe that the puffy pom-pom dangling from the end of your beanie is merely for show, but it had a far more practical use when it was first made. You might be shocked to learn that the Vikings invented the ubiquitous beanie to keep their ears warm in the cold winter environment of Norway. To protect the seams from falling apart, the pom-pom was sewed to the top of the cap. People began using buttons instead of pom-poms to tie the seams in later years, and it took on the shape of a little bean at the top, earning it the moniker we know today. 17. In women's pants, there's a pocket. Many men would be startled to hear that the purpose of the little pocket stitched into their pants is unknown to the majority of women. Although many women have found them to be quite handy for keeping tampons and other personal goods, this isn't the reason for their existence. This pocket is known as a panty gusset, because it was never meant to be a pocket in the first place. Instead, it's an additional piece of cloth sewed in for women's hygiene, and the gusset is totally closed in the higher-end underwear. The pocket is just a product of manufacturers' unwillingness to invest the time and money necessary to complete the final few stitches. 18. Cap with a knife utility. Most utility knives and box cutters now come with a thick plastic cover on the end, similar to a pen cap. While its design might lead you to believe it's for clipping onto your jeans or shirt pockets, which it is, it also serves a completely opposite purpose. The utility knife frame's plastic cover may be removed, and the slit at the end can be used to break off the tip of your blade, revealing a new, sharper razor blade beneath it. Breaking the scored blade free from the rest of the knife using the cap rather than your hands is quick, straightforward, and saves any undesired wounds on your fingers. 19. Bottlenecks for beer and soda. The recognizable form of a beer bottle is recognized by almost everyone on the earth. Although the reason for the bottle's creation is not a secret, have you ever considered the design of a beer bottle? Well, it turns out that the bottleneck form was created to encourage people to keep their beer at the top of the bottle, where their body heat won't warm up the remainder of the drink until they finish it. 20. The metal plates on staplers. You may have seen the metal plate on your stapler's front end. You'd be correct if you imagined it was there to function as reinforcement to bend the staples, but did you realize there's more to it, and that your stapler has settings? This isn't a joke. The metal plate is known as an anvil, and you may modify it by turning the wheel until it lines up with the apparently random hole in the metal plate. If you turn your stapler upside down, this is a temporary staple setting that will direct the arms of your staple outward instead of inward, making it simpler to pull out afterwards. 21. A lollipop stick with a hole at the top. Do you recall your childhood love of suckers and the thrill you had when you finished your sweets and tried to make a whistle out of the plastic stick with the hole? That hole, it turns out, was not designed for that purpose. The little hole on the top of the plastic lollipop stick is there so that when the producer pours the hot, melted candy into the mold, some of it seeps into the hole and solidifies, preventing the candy from slipping off. With the circular paper lollipop sticks, this wasn't necessary because the molten candy grabbed them better.